time it
We
better.
will do it better next time.
We will. So we have a very provocative topic today, right? And it's called opinion versus ownership. You know, your brand is a very personal thing. That's because it's personal branding, and every person is so unique, and every single personal brand is very different. So we're going to talk today in this episode about 4 reasons why you should step away from the opinions and take ownership of your brand. So I'll start introducing myself. I am Tanya Eberhardt, founder of Brand Face, and we help business stars differentiate themselves. We do that through personal branding.
And I am Michael Carr. I'm the COO of Brand Face. I was actually a client before I became a partner in the company. We're the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe, and I am living proof that it works. So we're going to talk about these things today because they're very important. Opinion versus ownership. All right. There are 2 things that are inherent in us as human beings when it comes to branding, maybe when it comes to everything in life. Number 1, we tend to distrust a process, even if it is proven by others. That I think is universal. Oh, that won't work. There's people out there, I'm one of them, that think that you cannot solve a Rubik's Cube. It's just a myth, right? But there are many people, there are thousands of videos of people solving Rubik's Cubes on YouTube and TikTok. So apparently it is true, even though the fact that I can't solve one makes me distrust the process that it actually can be solved.
That's a good parallel. Even though when we went to New Orleans, we saw a guy standing on his head and solving one Rubik's Cube in each hand while standing on his head.
So anyway,
he's figured it out.
You know, are you going to believe somebody's words, or are you going to believe your own lying eyes? I guess is what it really boils down to. And the second thing about being human and branding is we want to gain the acceptance of those people around us, whether that is a good acceptance or not. And those 2 things can cause very big stumbling blocks during any branding journey. And I would even say in any business journey whatsoever. Those 2 things definitely are a hindrance to all of us.
So we're going to talk to you about 4 reasons you need to step away from the opinions and take ownership of your own brand, take control of it. Okay. So number 1 is if you're asking someone's opinion about your brand identifier, which is one of the first steps that we take in our branding program. I'll sum that up for you in one moment here. We start by taking a look at who your ideal customers are, the things that set you apart. Then we come up with a brand identifier. We have an entire formula that we do that with. So a brand identifier is a tagline or slogan that either states who you are or what you stand for. And that's the 75-mile-an-hour version of your brand. It's kind of like being on the cover of a book. You hear us, if you have followed us at all, you hear my analogy of a book. Your brand is like a book. It is your story, but you can't fit the entire contents of your story on the cover of the book. So we've got to have that compelling 75-mile-an-hour look of a book, right? And part of that is your brand identifier, your tagline or slogan that sets the tone for your brand. So when you first come into a program like this and we give you some options for a brand identifier, people will say, hey, what do you think about my brand? What do you think about this brand identifier? And that's one of the ways that things can go very wrong, because that is only a fraction of the brand, guys. And you can't judge a brand based on bits. You know, we have
bits and bobs.
You were going to say
bits and bobs. I knew you were.
He beat me to it.
So I read her mind, people.
Hats off to you, Gavin. Gavin is a consultant of ours. It was a consultant of ours in Great Britain.
He was from London. That's probably not a very good thing. That was a terrible.
Well, I can't do much better. But he used to talk about bits and bobs all the time. So, it's, lots of bits and bobs over here. So if you're trying to judge a brand based on just the bits and not even the bobs, I mean, you've got an issue there. So your brand identifier actually sets the tone and direction for your brand, but it is not the brand. So when you're asking somebody early in the stage of branding, hey, what do you think about my brand? Well, it's not your brand yet, right? And just pay attention to those things, because you don't want people judging your brand. And we know one of the first things everybody does is they want to ask their spouse, they want to ask their friends and family, hey, what do you think about this? Is this me? And there's nothing wrong with asking that, but we ask you to put those blinders on for a bit and really just like trust the process, because people don't know what you know, and they definitely don't know what we know at this stage of the game.
Right.
So number one is that if you're asking somebody's opinion of your brand identifier, the beginning parts of your brand, you're only showing them a fraction of the brand. So put those blinders on, step away from the opinions at that point, because the opinion it cannot be based on the whole of the facts, right? It's based on bits and bobs. Okay.
Hey, reason number two is 99% of the time when you're asking somebody about your brand, you are asking very untrained people. Very untrained people. Most of them don't have a thorough understanding of what a personal brand is. Most of our clients don't. That's why they come to us. And then when we explain it, I was a business owner for many, many years. In fact, about 21, 22 years before I met this lady, I didn't know it at all either. I was a great marketer. No, I was not. I was a marketer, and I had success from marketing, but I didn't know anything about brand. She wrote the book on it, and I listened to what she had to say about branding because she wrote the book on it. And those ideas have led us now to 43 states, with clients, 43 states, 4 other countries, folks, and growing businesses that all are on that. So it's very important that you don't get waylaid by people who are not in the branding business and they don't really fully understand it. Okay. So it's a lot more than a logo. It's a lot more than a photo. It's a lot more than a tagline. We at BrandFace look at 77 different criteria of each individual person before we begin to even start to brand them. Before we even get to that first step, actually. So it's very important that you don't take the opinion of the 99% of the untrained eyes out there about your brand.
And if you're listening to this out there right now and you've experienced either one of those, people judging your brand based on the very beginnings of it and saying, I don't like that, or people judging or your brand or giving you opinions who are untrained, give us a big, yeah, I've experienced that.
Yeah, that'd
comments.
be great. Hey,
Okay.
I actually would like to add something right here. I'm going a little bit off script right here, guys, but it's very important. I'm going to tell you why it's important. When you're working on your brand, okay, and you go to your loved ones and you say, right, you're going to go to your mom and you go, Mom, what do you think about my tagline? She's going to be like, oh, it's awesome, right? Yeah, because she's your mom. And then in the back of your mind, you're going to go, oh, I distrust that because it's my mom. Of course she loves me, right? We have these battles in our mind, right? So to give you a live example of that, when I first started in business and I wanted to get into the auctioneer business, and then that led me into the real estate business, my stepfather, whom I loved genuinely as a father, was a fantastic and incredible human being. When I told him over lunch one day what I was going to do, he's like, oh, son, you don't want to, you don't want to do that. Get your job at the post office or something where you know you're going to be able to get a guaranteed paycheck. Hey, I got a friend that graduated from the post office, and he's after 25, 29 years, actually, I mean, he's set for life, right? But that wasn't my life, okay? I don't have a problem. I love our post office people, right? But I'm just saying it wasn't me. But to him, he was giving me bad advice based upon his love for me. Follow what I'm saying?
I'm giving you good advice.
He was giving me what he thought was good advice, but to me, it was bad advice. And had I followed it, I would not be sitting here and being able to talk to you guys about branding. Sure wouldn't have met this beautiful lady, and our companies wouldn't have grown to the sizes that they have. He didn't mean any harm by it. He loved me and was giving me good advice. So sort of put that into perspective for you. When you're asking your friends and loved ones about your brand when it's not built yet or ready to roll, you might not get the advice that you should get.
That's true. Okay. The number 3 reason you should step away from the opinions is you are asking people who don't know why we've chosen a specific direction for you, right? In other words, they still don't have all the bits and bobs.
Right.
But even more than just the tagline, they cannot envision the entire direction. And I'll tell you how I know this is true. It's because a lot of you who come into the program yourselves or start any branding journey, you can envision some parts and pieces of it, but even though it's your personal brand, cannot envision exactly what this is going to look like. I've spent 30 years doing this. He's spent 8 doing this, more years than that marketing, but 8 enmeshed in BrandFace. And so we know we can envision, like I see things I see things. I see branded people.
I see branded people. She tells me that all the time.
I do. so we see what this is going to shape, what is all going to come together to look like. And you guys being new to a personal branding process or journey, you don't know that because you haven't been through it yet. But we do know that. We can see, okay, we see the nuances. We know why. We look, as Michael said, we look at 77 different criteria. And among those criteria is what could go wrong. What could be misperceived, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where are the misconceptions about this? So we try very hard to look at everything to make sure we've kind of got a beautiful picture of you painted going all the way through. But you can't see the label when you're inside the jar. And so that's why you've got to go back to one of the first things that makes you uncomfortable. That's trusting the process, right? And the people behind the process, obviously, because we are the brand faces of Brand Face, right? We hope you trust us. We know that many of you have, and we appreciate that very much. But again, you gotta, you're asking people who don't know the end game. They don't know your path, right? And so that's really it. They don't know the full strategy.
Yeah. And reason number 4, you should step away from the opinions, is not everyone. This may be hard to hear, folks, but if I got to be the one to say it, I'm going to be the one to say it to you.
Preach.
Unapologetically. Not everyone is happy that you're working on your brand. Let that sink in for me.
Yeah, let's take a moment of silence here for just a second.
Not everyone you know and consider in your inner circle is going to be happy that you're working on your brand, especially peers. And you may be even surprised that jealousy extends even to friends and family members too. There is a certain amount of us that doesn't want to see people succeed. It's why you watch NASCAR. You want to see the crash. You don't want to see the winner. Who cares about the winner? You want to see the crash, right? There's a certain amount of that happens everywhere. The big green monster, the jealousy factor. So when it comes to building your brand, you need to trust the right people, and then put those blinders on, guys, and work through the process the way it's supposed to be done. Because when that happens, then you're going to get to see the end result, which is an attractive brand directly pointed at the very people that you need to do business with, that is attractive of those people. So just keep in mind when you're building that brand that not everyone in your inner circle is going to be happy that you are bettering yourself.
I really have to expound upon that for just a moment, because this brand is you. It's your personal brand. And you've got to have some, I don't care to it, right? You've got to push it away. In the beginning of all of our personal branding books, right, in the first few pages of the book, there's a chapter that says what must be done before you become a brand face. And it's called letting go. There's 4 or 5 things you need to let go of. And one of them is letting go of what other people think about it.
Yeah.
So we've had dream killers all over the place. We've seen them before. Somebody will go to their spouse and say, what do you think about this? And the spouse says, oh, that sounds stupid. I don't even know what that means, And that's when, there's a jealousy factor there. They don't want you to do it. And I don't mean to be mean. It actually has happened. It's just life. It happens. We've had, partners kill the dream. We've had people, here's my favorite. When somebody will say, well, I went to several of, the people in my office and asked them what they thought about my brand. And I'm going, oh, wrong. You went where? You
went to your competition?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're training your assassins here? I mean, come
on. I remember
on.
We had a client at one time that said that a brand that we said that he needed to go in that direction, he just felt like was going to make his competition mad and his competitors. And I'm like, look, dude, if you're worried about your competitor's business, go to work for your competitor. Right. That, you know what I mean? If you worry about their business that much, you should be working for them. I used to have this old mentor. He told me, hey, they call me Monkey. He said, hey, Monkey, did you hear about that guy made $3 million last year? And I'd be like, no, John, and he's like, I said, how did he do that? And he said, taking care of his business. And there's a lot of truth to that. So pay attention to it. Taking care of their business. You focus on you. You focus on your personality. You focus on what it is that you want to achieve with your brand, and your brand will give you that back.
And I'll end with one last positive piece of advice here. What you definitely do not know, and I can say this with 100% certainty, when you come into a personal branding journey, is you have no idea the confidence that you're going to have coming out of that journey.
That's a fact.
And it doesn't matter. And I'm not talking about being confident about doing your job. Of course you are. You're great at it. That's why you care enough to develop that personal brand, to showcase that. But when you come into it, you have no idea the confidence, and only people that have been through it understand what that means. You've got all your stuff together. It looks dang good. It makes people jealous sometimes. That's okay. That's a good part of it. It represents you. It helps you attract exactly who you want to attract, not just into your business, but into your life. You teach people how to treat you, and it all starts with your brand.
It does. It also gives you laser focus, and it'll change the way you look at yourself. I promise you.
It will. It will. In fact, that's one of our famous quotes. A great brand doesn't just change the way others see you. It changes the way you see yourself. That's probably the best thing we could end on, guys. But let's take a look at the 4 things one more time. The reasons that you should step away from the opinions is other people can't judge based on bids. You're asking untrained people. They don't know the strategy. And sadly, not everyone's going to be happy about your success. Okay. So we'll leave you guys with that. And we hope today we've inspired you just a little bit to step out there, go out on a limb, trust the process.
Yep.
And trust the people around you too. We're not telling you not to ask for opinions. We're just saying, take those with a grain of salt and be determined and resolute in your own direction for your own purpose. Okay. We'll end there. All right.
Hey guys, if you want to know more about branding, if you think, hey, what was it they just talked about all that time? I don't even understand what a brand is. Or if you know you've got a brand, but you got to get it dialed in, you can go to discussyourbrand.com, discussyourbrand.com, and we'll be glad to talk to you. It's a free 30-minute session. You can call as many times as you want. It could be as many 30-minute sessions as you want, and we'll help you through that. I promise you. And I also want to say this, guys. My tagline is I'm the abundant life broker, because I want to live the rest of my life helping people achieve what it is that this lady's been able to help me achieve. And we know that it's about prosperity. When we say prosperity, we're not just talking about money. That's an important part of it. We're talking about the 360 of an abundant life that we really, truly wish for every one of you out there. But we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that prosperity favors the bold. And so we say, be bold, folks, especially with your brand. Thank you, Ms. Tanya.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Mr. Brown family.
Yes, thank you. And if you guys like what you hear today, if we inspired you in any way or helped you kind of bring clarity to anything, like it, love it, share it, and ding, subscribe. All right.
I'd like to do a shout out to my good buddy, Mike Wooten, right there. About the Rubik's Cube, and he says he absolutely can solve one side at a time. So, listen, I have no doubt. But I will say he's the greatest wordsmith, puzzle doer in the history of mankind. So, thank you, Mike. Appreciate your support, brother.
Thank you so much. And thank you again, and everybody else who joined us today. Bye, guys.